Well, week 3 in the NFL was quite chaotic, and because of that, power rankings has shifted around quite a lot in this week. So before I dive right into it, want to quickly say if you are new, subscribe, it'd be greatly appreciated. Leave a like and comment down below your thoughts and your rankings. Now let's get right into it. First honorable mention is the Minnesota Vikings, and that was a performance that reminded me a lot more of what we saw last year from them. Carson Wentz was flashing it back to 2017 as well with his performance. 14 for 20 completion and 2 touchdowns on the day. Jordan Mason was all over the place. He had 116 yards, making it 7.2 yards per carry and 2 touchdowns as well. The defense was also all over the place, especially Isaiah Rodgers, who had himself a career day. Over 200 turnover return yards and 2 defensive touchdowns. They forced 4 total turnovers, held the Bengals passing game to only 140 yards, and held the ground game to 53 yards. 2.5 yards per carry. If the Vikings can continue to get offensive showings like this, they're going to be a very tough team to stop. It also brings in the question of how ready is JJ McCarthy. The question mainly is just when he does get healthy, and it seems like that the idea is for him to be playing and be back healthy after their bye week. So the question is, when that time rolls around, and let's say you win these next 2 games that are being played in Dublin and in London, do you really go away from Carson Wentz when he's playing this well? Ideally, I think they're going to go back to McCarthy, but I'm not really sure at this moment because of how well Carson Wentz played in his first outing with this team. But we will see. The Vikings are an honorable mention. Next up, the San Francisco 49ers are an honorable mention, and it is very fair to say that my views on the Niners are nearing the point of disrespectful. They are at 3-0. But to be there, their wins have not been that impressive to me, and it's why that they're being held out of the top 10. Another reason is the injuries are continuing to pile up as Nick Bosa went down in this game. Mac Jones took a step back in efficiency in this one as well. The ground game was fine, but nothing really special. Ricky Pearsall and CMC were standouts in the passing game, but no one else really showed up. It was a game the Niners managed to escape, much like the other 2 wins on the season, and I'm just waiting for them to have that signature win on the year. Again, this was my NFC West division pick, but I'm not seeing that out of them through 3 weeks, despite them being 3-0. And it's gonna get to a point where either they're gonna get their big time signature win, or all of this stumbling they're not gonna be able to recover from at one point. And that's going to be really the direction that this team will go for the rest of the year. And that is what I'm waiting for before saying the Niners are a top 10 team in this league. So because of that, they are an honorable mention once again. The final honorable mention is the Seattle Seahawks. And that was a dominant win for Seattle. And it's one that sends out 2 messages to the entire league. The first one is that the Saints are as bad as we thought they were going to be this season, despite the 2 close losses to begin the year. And the second is that Seattle has a team surrounding Sam Darnold, and they're going to be able to compete this season. They put up 38 points by halftime. Darnold 14 for 18, 218 yards and 2 touchdowns. A great way to piggyback off of his fantastic week 2 performance. Kenneth Walker also had a pair of touchdowns in this one on the ground, and the defense was making things get really difficult for this Saints offense. Hold them to just about 3 yards per carry. Rattler, with over 40 attempts in this game, only had about 200 yards. And Seattle was a team entering this season that I needed to see in order to believe. And through 3 weeks, they are getting there. They played really well in week 2, and they played really well this week. Want to see it once more before I can confidently put them in the top 10. But they are very close to making that top 10. Number 10 is the Los Angeles Rams, and they did blow that game, but they still played well enough against a top 3 team in the league to where I feel like they can remain in the rankings for this week. They had a 26-7 lead at one point with an offense that was seemingly moving the ball at will, but they let off the gas. They had 2 kicks blocked, and that sealed the deal. Defense was playing really well until the second half when they would proceed to give up 20. And this is the Rams team that will bounce back. I am confident in saying that, and they're going to be able to right the ship. I am hoping for a rematch of this game come the playoffs, and that would be must-watch TV. This is a Rams team this year that I am definitely excited to see how they're going to progress in this season. The offense is seemingly looking really nice and are finding their pieces with Matthew Stafford and Devontae Adams, who both had really good games in this one. That defensive front seven is probably one of my favorite front sevens in all of football this year, and it has shown through 3 weeks to be a top unit in the league. This is a really good Rams team. It's just that they blew that game and they really messed up on special teams. But it is a three-phase type of game, and thus they fall a little bit in the rankings down to number 10. Number 9 is the Green Bay Packers, and I don't even know where to begin with that performance against the Browns. It starts with the defense, though. They played really, really well. I have to give them credit where credit is due. That should have been a defensive performance enough for the win. And it seems like this is a defensive unit that is made to play January and February football, and they will be ready when that time rolls around. The somewhat unexpected weak point has been the ground game this season. Josh Jacobs, I'm still waiting to have a true breakout game for this season. He has been underperforming, and there is some injuries up front in the offensive line. But Josh Jacobs is the kind of back that I was expecting to potentially win the rushing title this year, and has been disappointing up to this point. The passing game was rough without Jaden Reed. Jordan Love had 183 yards, and Matthew Golden was the only receiver with over 50 on the day. It's near impossible for a team to go undefeated, and there was a lot of talk about that after the Packers win in week 2. Even some players talking about it. So I never expected them to go undefeated. But there's still a team that on paper should have been good enough to put up more than 10 points against the Browns, and they should have been able to win this game with ease. The fact that they lost, it does really make no sense, and they did fall in the rankings. But this is a game that it kind of felt like they needed to have with how much talk was going in before the game. They still dropped, they're still at number 9, but at the end of the day, this might be an outcome that the Packers look back on as the reason they go on a run. Number 8 is the Indianapolis Colts, and I'm still waiting for the Colts to come back down to reality a little bit, but the truth is, this just might be their reality for this season. Through 3 weeks, they have punted only a single time, marking it the first time since 1940 that has been the case for a team. Daniel Jones has found new life outside of the Big Apple, with a team that did not have a lot of eyes on them entering the season to be a contender. There was all that talk when they announced Daniel Jones was the starter that they were tanking basically this year. Turns out everyone was wrong on that end. Jonathan Taylor showing why he was paid the big bucks a few years ago, and the entire supporting cast offensively and defensively are showing out through 3 weeks to make the Colts one of 6 teams remaining to be undefeated. The points against them, though, has been the opponents, as outside of Denver, they have not played anyone really, and this is coming from a Dolphins fan. And even with that Denver game, Denver's in a rough spot this year, sitting at 1-2. So we'll see if that was really a good win come season's end. The good thing though is they're in the AFC South. That division is consistently a weak division. It's showing that case to be again this year. So they have an easy path to a home playoff game. And once that happens, it is anybody's game. So the Indianapolis Colts, somehow, despite me not thinking this would be possible entering the season, they are at number 8. Number 7 is the Baltimore Ravens, and that was a very tight one and a very tough loss for them. But at the end of the day, it is still a loss. They had their moments of playing really well throughout the game, but too many mistakes is what ended up costing them in the end. Although Lamar threw the ball really well, 288 yards and 3 touchdowns, Derrick Henry is having a very rough start to the season. He fumbled for the 3rd time in as many games, and he only had 50 yards on the day, but did also have a touchdown. The defense they struggled to get off the field in this one, and their consecutive game streak with the sack ends tonight. They did not get a single sack in this game. That streak ends at 57 games. All around, though, this was still a pretty nice game for Baltimore. They put up 30 points. They came down to the wire. It was against a top-tier team in the league. But they are 1-2 now on the season, with those 2 losses being against 2 of the top 3 teams in the NFL, in my opinion. So with that, the question is starting to form of how much can this Ravens team really, really compete. They have the Chiefs next week. Should be able to bounce back with that one. But this is the Ravens team that needs to find some type of groove here soon. Otherwise, we could be talking about them. We could be talking about them getting left behind in terms of the grand scheme of the top teams of the AFC. Number 6 is the Washington Commanders, and Marcus Mariota had his time in the spotlight. and he took full advantage of it. A 17-point win, 207 yards, and a touchdown through the air. And the ground game was working wonders. 201 yards, 6.3 yards per carry. Everyone was getting on the action this week for Washington. The defense remains in a weird spot, though. They have improved against the run from last year, continues in this one, giving up only 3.3 yards per carry, and Genti was the only running back for Las Vegas to have over 20 yards. But they have taken a step back against the air. They gave up nearly 300 yards and 3 touchdowns to Geno Smith in this game, and consistency is going to be key for Washington down the stretch. They are a team that has the talent to go on a run again this year like they did last year. And the hope for this season is they can go further than what they did last year, which was the NFC Championship game. This is a team that has their eyes set on San Francisco and the Super Bowl this year. So we'll see if they do fall short, it will be because of this defense once again. But this time it will be the passing defense. They do come in at number 6 on these rankings. Number 5 is the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and I don't know how they keep doing it, but this is 3 straight weeks where they have scored in the final minute in order to win, and that is a historic feat for a team to have. But it is showcasing their strengths along the way by doing so. Baker Mayfield once again throwing pretty well, 233 yards and a touchdown, plus some key throws late to get into that game-winning field goal range. The ground game, lackluster in this game against the Jets front, but Emeka Egbuka is looking like a steal of the draft. The defense also continues to play solid and manages to keep them in all of these games, so that way Baker and the offense can do their things and score late and close things out. This is a Tampa team that I'm really, really enjoying play football this year. They're playing well, but they're keeping things pretty interesting. And there's an argument to be made that, well, Tampa has 3 very close wins. Why are they not being viewed at in the same lens as San Francisco is to you? And the biggest thing is, Tampa's a team that has proven in the past 2 seasons to be a really good team with this core at hand. San Francisco is coming off of a really bad season, and the biggest issue there is their injuries. Because they're still getting banged up, this stretch that they're on might not be sustainable. But Tampa has shown that this type of play is sustainable for them, and that's why I'm putting a little bit more stake into it, and I'm kind of viewing them in a different lens, so they come in at number 5. Number 4 is the Los Angeles Chargers, and it came down to the end, but the Chargers are 3-0 with all 3 of those wins being divisional foes. This team is set up for what could be a great season. Justin Herbert continues to throw the ball well. Quentin Johnston has improved massively in between seasons. He has definitely been a very key piece to this offense, which I was not expecting. What was a strength last year in the ground game has taken a big step back. Omarion Hampton has just under 4 yards per carry, as did the team as a whole. And Najee Harris is now out for the season with an Achilles injury, and that was a very tough thing to watch live. The defense has more than impressed though through 3 weeks, especially without them having Khalil Mack in this one and still being able to make things tough for this Broncos offense. The Chargers' performance through these first 3 weeks have been very encouraging as a team that, they had that loss to the Texans in the playoffs last year. Was a very tough loss for Herbert. Threw the 4 interceptions in that game, looking to bounce back off of that. This is a Chargers team that could very easily now win this division and could very easily set themselves up for maybe even a top seed in the AFC with how things are shaping up. And when that's the case, this Chargers team is going to be a very tough team to knock out. They come in at number 4. Number 3 is the Detroit Lions, and that was a big time win for them to get on prime time. The offense was a question entering the game. They more than showed up in this one. It starts on the ground. David Montgomery over 150 yards on the day and 2 touchdowns. Jahmyr Gibbs over 60 yards on the day and 2 touchdowns. Once again showing that this is the best running back tandem in the league. No doubt about it to me. This 1-2 punch of Gibbs and Montgomery is the best. They can beat you any given day of the week. Goff was also throwing well, 7.2 yards per attempt and a touchdown, but the real stars of the offense, at least to me, the offensive line. The run lanes were open the entire game, and Jared Goff was kept upright. He was not sacked once in this game, and all most of that credit goes to the offensive line. The defense also played well all around. You're not going to be able to hold the Ravens to too little of points often, so they still did a pretty good job in that end. And they forced a key fumble late in this game, and they sacked Lamar Jackson 7 times. They did a great job at containing him and making sure that if they were going to lose this game, it would be because of Lamar Jackson's arm. All around, I'm really impressed with how the Lions played. This is more so kind of the Lions team I expected to see in week one. It took a few weeks, but they showed up here on Monday Night Football in prime time. So with that, the Lions come in at number 3. Number 2 is the Buffalo Bills. And this game was closer than some people expected it to be. But at the end of the day, the Bills did come out on top nonetheless. Allen once again throwing really well, 213 yards and 3 touchdowns on 22 for 28 passing. James Cook running really well in this game. Was not a big surprise to me that he was able to do so. 100 yards and a touchdown on 19 carries. The defense played really well, kept Miami's offense to under 150 yards through the air, and they had that game-winning interception late. The Bills consistently feel in control of games no matter what the score is or what the situation is. They always feel in control, especially late in games and in the fourth quarter. Because as long as the game is close entering the fourth, the Bills are going to probably find a way to win, depending on the matchup and everything else. In the playoffs is a different story. But in the regular season, they're going to find ways to win those games close down the stretch. This makes it so Buffalo is now a very comfortable first place in the AFC East, which no one would be surprised if they win again because they have been dominating that division. But they rarely make mistakes late in games, especially during the regular season, and that's what we're ranking right now, is the regular season stuff. So the Bills come in at number 2. And number 1, the Philadelphia Eagles. It was a tight rematch of the NFC divisional round from last year, but the Eagles offense was able to find their stride in the second half. Hurts ended up with a solid game, 226 yards and 3 touchdowns. A.J. Brown finally had an impact performance with just over 100 yards and a touchdown in this one. Saquon was silenced this week, but it was against the Rams front 7 that I am very high on. I think it's one of the best units in the league, so it's whatever. The defense, they stepped up in the second half as well. After giving up 26 unanswered, they turned things around and got a very nice win thanks to Jordan Davis getting the block at the end. Philly keeps winning, and they continue to do so in different ways week in, week out. And that is a sign of a really, really good team, and a team that is very tough to beat, and why Philly is on the path to a potential repeat Super Bowl championship, because they are this type of team that is going to win games in any way that they can. They don't care about the stat sheet, they don't care about the box score, they just care about getting that win at the end of the day. This was another showcase of that. The Eagles, once again, sit on top of the NFL as the number 1 team on my power rankings. Okay, so quick little rundown. The Rams are at 10, Packers at 9, Colts at 8, Ravens at 7, Commanders at 6, Buccaneers at 5, Chargers at 4, Lions at 3, Bills at 2, and the Philadelphia Eagles round things out at number 1. Thank you all for tuning in. I'll see you all next time. Have yourselves a damn good one.